Hello, good morning. I hope you're all fine. I have to excuse myself because I wasn't be able to upload the video for Unit 3 because I had a breach of copyright. So YouTube blocked my video to be published because there was some copyright breach. So I'm sorry, but however, you can find all the papers, all the documents, everything that you need is on Moodle. And in case you miss something, you can always send an email to me, okay? Now, today we have a lot to cover, and you have to do, so your task, I've got a big task, but your task is to do active listening. So it means that you listen to, you watch the video. It's a very dense of political and historical events. So you better just take a pen and a paper and write down the numbers, dates, names, whatever you need. Okay? All right. Now, what I'm gonna do is, okay. So, course American. Okay, now I'm going. So now I made available to you all Unit 4 papers. Okay. So I hope. Okay, something that I would like to remind you is to watch the Sleepy Hollow virtual tour. I don't know if anyone have done it. It's fun. It is fun. Okay, Road to Independence. So Unit 4, all right, I need to, share, where is my share? Share screen, okay. Okay. Everyone is watching Unit 4 Road to Independence?
No, we see the Moodle.
It's going to a Moodle page.
What do you see?
Moodle page.
Yes, yes, a Moodle page, yes. Yeah. Unit 4 Road to Independence. Let's say from Mayflowers, which is the ship that the Pilgrim took to travel to United States, and then to Thanksgiving celebration. Okay, everyone knows already, right? Thanksgiving, what it's all about, but we'll go into details. And then we will switch. So it's going to be like divided in two main parties. One is the story of the Pilgrims, and one is the event of Boston Tea Party, which led to American Revolutionary War. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Now I open my PowerPoint. What can you see? Is that a PowerPoint?
No,
Oh, it's still Moodle.
No. Okay.
it's still Moodle.
Okay. All right. Now, yes. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay, Thanksgiving Day, Boston Tea Party. Okay, now we will start watching a video. It's a quite a long one. It's 7 minutes. I will recommend you because what we're doing now is kind of like we are kind of like going through the whole history part of the course. Okay, it's from the beginning of the first pilgrim that arrived up to the Declaration of Independence. Okay. So, but these are few things that you already may know, but I would like to, to follow through the video and write down informations or prepare to make questions on it, and we will discuss it on it, okay? Okay. Now I probably have to stop share and share screen again, yes? Yeah, I do it.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good, no, perfect words that make your writing sharp, or explicit, or excellent, or distinctive. As a matter of fact, for what it's worth, Grammarly.
Okay, yes? Everyone up? Yeah? Okay.
The Pilgrims.
Oh, sorry.
In the patriotic song titled America, the poet called America land of the Pilgrims' pride. Who were these pilgrims, and where did they come from? About 400 years ago, 13 years after the first English settlement in America, called Jamestown, there was another group of travelers who came to America in search of religious freedom. They wanted to worship God in their own way and separate from the Church of England. They formed their own congregation and called themselves saints. The saints came under persecution in England, and many of these people moved to Holland in the Netherlands, seeking religious liberty and a better life. In Holland, life became unbearable. These people could not find jobs, and the parents did not like the bad influence that the local culture was having on their own children. The saints packed up their few possessions, gathered their families, and went back to England. In England, they again faced persecution and were sent to prison. They wanted to go to America, where they could be free to live according to their own beliefs. They bargained and paid for passage across the Atlantic Ocean on two ships, the Speedwell and the Mayflower. In the summer of 1620, these two ships set sail for a new land where these people could fulfill their hopes and dreams of a new life. 300 miles and many days out to sea, the Speedwell began leaking water into the ship. It could not be repaired at sea, and both ships returned to the harbor. It was decided that the Mayflower would sail alone, and the people and cargo that could fit were transferred to the Mayflower. The Mayflower finally set sail for America on the 6th of September, 1620. The passengers on the Mayflower were known as saints, strangers, and crew. Those who were believers and members of the congregation were saints. The strangers were those who were still looking for a better life, away from England, and to get and develop land, but were not members of the congregation. And the crew were the officers and working hands on the ship. Altogether, there were about 130 people. The first half of the voyage went smooth. The seas were calm, and good progress was made, but many of the travelers still became sick, and during the second half of the journey, the seas were rough and stormy. The winds were so fierce that the crew had to drop the sails on the ship, allowing it to drift freely. The Mayflower became damaged, and many believed they would not make their intended destination. It was a long and difficult voyage. The Mayflower was a small ship, only 100 feet long. It was crowded. There was not enough fresh water. It was stinky, dirty, and cold. 2 people died. One of them a young man who fell overboard during a very turbulent storm. He was not recovered. After 66 days at sea, the shipmen cried out, "Land ho!" America had been sighted. Surprisingly, they were not far from where they intended to make landfall. Upon arriving, the Pilgrims made an agreement on paper about how their new colony would be run. They created and signed a document, which today is called the Mayflower Compact. The compact stated they were loyal to the King of England, were Christians who served God, laws they make will be fair, and everyone would work for the good of the colony. Each man, before leaving the ship, was asked to sign the Mayflower Compact. The Pilgrims searched the New England coast for a place to settle and decided on the area already named by previous explorers to the area. There was land for planting crops, a harbor for ships, and a river for fresh water. They built their village and established Plymouth Colony in what is now the state of Massachusetts, inside Cape Cod. Although the Pilgrims were happy to have settled in America, they faced a difficult and cold winter. They were not prepared. They built a large house and some smaller homes, yet for a period, people still slept on the Mayflower. That first winter in Plymouth Colony, almost half of the people died. It was a very hard and harsh life. Native Americans were already living in America for thousands of years before these settlers from England arrived. The Native Americans were not surprised to see these new visitors, since explorers and hunters and fishermen had been here before. When the Mayflower arrived, the Native Americans saw these families with men, women, and children come off the ship. It was hoped that they would come in peace. There was not much integration that first winter between the Native Americans and those of Plymouth Colony. The Pilgrims and Native Americans formed a treaty that helped for peaceful relations between these two cultures. They would trade for furs, food, and tools. After the first harvest in 1621, a year after their arrival in this land that held great promise and hope for these immigrants, the Pilgrims invited some of the Native Americans to join them for a feast. The Pilgrims provided food of their harvest, and the Native Americans provided venison from the deer they had hunted. This is referred to as the first Thanksgiving, as the tradition continued after every harvest in the years that followed. Life was not easy for the Pilgrims, especially in those first years. The most important thing for them was to freely practice their religion. As the years went by, the community of settlers from England grew to the 13 original colonies, and then to the United States of America.
Гриль Тефаль за 3199 гривень. Щоб
Okay.
коханий передбачувано був у захваті.
I need to ask. Okay. All right. So, everything fine? Did you find it hard?
No.
No. Okay. I had already opened mine, but one moment. I need to get back to share screen. Okay. Okay. That's funny. One moment. I think I had it already open here. Okay. Yes, yes. So, how many people I've got? So let's see. Let's first talk about these pilgrims. Okay, who were they?
The Pilgrims were a group of English people who came to America seeking religious freedom during the reign of King James I.
Okay, that's good. Yes, yes, they were religious. In fact, if you notice that in the video, we were calling congregation, so it was a religious congregation. So on board of the Mayflower, we were these pilgrims who have been traveling away. First, they travel away from England. They moved to Holland. Okay. Also, always because for religious persecution, okay? But then when they found that their life in Holland was really difficult, they decided to move back to England and then to board on a ship to come over to America. Okay, how many ships there were in the first place?
At first there were two,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah, yes.
but it was a really hard road, so they came back, and then there was only one ship, the Mayflower.
Oh, okay. So the people from the other ship was called Speedwell. They moved, so they have to get both back to Plymouth. Plymouth, it's a port in the south of England. Okay, so we went back to Plymouth in England, and so everyone that was on this Speedwell, they moved onto Mayflower. So it was quite packed. It was very busy. How many? Do you remember how many people there were in all?
130.
130. Apparently, the passengers were less, 102, 103, but the count was around 130 altogether with the crew members. Okay. All right. So now, how long did they travel? How many days?
They spent 66 days.
66, yes, apparently, yes. Did they arrive in a place they wanted? They were meant to?
Almost.
Almost, okay. In
Almost.
fact, yeah, they were meant to, they were actually wanted to go a little bit further down, more like toward Long Island and New York, but then because they had a very rough weather, a big storm, so many feared that they would die. It was really hard. Well, anyway, so the news about these pilgrims, and when they call themselves the saint, is that the novelty is that these people travel with women and children. That was something that it was new, okay? Because before, it's not that these are the first ever. So other people already traveled back and forth. They already had established some commercial agreement with a Native American, or they were selling like fur, I don't know, whatever. And so there were some agreement already. So people traveling back and forth. But this was the first time that actually decided to move there to live, and they brought women and children. How was the first year? Where did they live? What did they do?
They established the Plymouth colony, and they made an agreement, aka the Mayflower Compact,
Yeah,
which were the
yes.
rules.
Yes. So, but how was what kind of weather? What kind of territory they found there?
I don't know, but the first winter was really hard, and
Yeah.
half of them died.
Yes, yes. So they probably also were exposed to new viruses, or they got really weak during the journey. So many people starved in the Mayflower. So yeah, it was really hard. But somehow, so it's kind of like we having like arriving there and having a lot of problem, very cold. Many of them, the first winter, they decided to sleep in the ship because
Yeah.
they arrived late and they were not expecting such an horrible weather, and they didn't make the time to build their home on the land. So many decided to sleep in the ship. But then it will get like springtime, and they brought their own seeds. That's funny. And some of them were not sprouting in springtime. So they start asking local people what kind of, so they kind of like doing some exchange or about agriculture method, and because it was different. Okay, so they also discover some few of fruits and vegetables, like for instance the turkey. Why is so important with Thanksgiving Day? Because the turkey was not in Europe. The turkey was like a ave. It was like a chicken, a big chicken, but it was not known it did not exist in Europe. So it was something completely new. So Native American were kind of saying, look, this is good, this is edible, you can have that. This is not. So we were kind of exchanging agriculture and life-saving information, and also probably some medical herbs to treat maybe flu, who knows. So so after a big summer, they managed to raise a nice harvest, and then they went and they collect everything, and then they wanted to have a celebration. This part of celebration, there's always so when we were talking about Sleepy Hollow, the celebration of the harvest is something that belongs to the farmer life. And also in the short story that we read last Wednesday, there was this party of a celebration of the harvest. So it was kind of like saying, oh, we got so much, and now we put everything in a canteen and a special covered place, and we're gonna be survived through the winter, because these people, you have imagined that we didn't have a fridge, a freezer, didn't have light. So the way of conservation was really hard, probably putting like a fish or meat under salt in a covered place, or to preserve potatoes. So it was so difficult. So to have a lot of food and to store away from winter, that was a good thing. So we were celebrating. Usually harvest celebration, it was not a day, but it was like a festival. There were some hunting games, the game of the ropes. It was a festival mainly. And then, well, the time it turns to be Thanksgiving Day, and so and so. Okay, now, so here, okay, we watch another very small video that is about Mayflower. Basically, all the information, we already had some information about Mayflower, but this is a little bit more in details. Okay, just to fix. Okay, now I have to share it. Okay. No. Stop. Where I am. What you watching? Pilgrims, yes? Okay. Okay. Yes, I found it. I need to stop it anyway. Okay. I found it now. Okay. I found it. You sharing? Yes? A video? YouTube?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes. All right. Okay, now I need to put it back if I can. Okay. Full screen and now play. Okay. Interesting, yeah? Okay. Okay. Here. Stop sharing. Okay. Yes. All right. Interesting, yeah? So basically it was just like a recap all the information that we had in the first video. If you go to Plymouth, that is in north of, no, it's not, it's south. It's south of Boston. And you can visit the Plymouth plantation colony. That is like it was before, like it was at the beginning of a history of United States, like this first pilgrim. That is like an open museum there. You can visit their home, how they organize, the few furniture in the house, like a fireplace. Very, very poor, of course. And then next to the colony settlement, there was the Native American settlement to visit as well. And then by the harbor, you can visit the replica, its copy of Mayflower. And then you can also go on board and visit how it was like. And you can imagine and touch on with your hand and understand how hard was life of his first pilgrim, what the like hygiene condition by traveling, and in fact that at the end of it, only few like two died traveling, and then after the first winter, apparently half of the first pilgrim died from disease, from flu, from the cold, from the lack of food, also because they were not expecting. So they were traveling, were living in England, and they were expecting, first of all, to have not all these drawback when they have like to put all the other passenger or the other ship on board. So they delayed the day of departure. Okay, we were not expecting to have such a long journey. And then when they arrived in America, it was already September. It was already pretty cold, and they didn't have. They couldn't bring so much food with them. So the first year was really, really a famine. It was a really hard year with a little to eat, especially because winter in America, in that part of America, is really cold. It's just like in here. You get snow, you get cold wind from the Arctic. It's really, really cold. Okay, now I wanted to get back here. Okay, so you are watching the Pilgrims? What are you watching?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay, now, all right. We have another, well, here I wanted to show you this is a typical, I think it's a painting that is kept in Washington. Here is the rock. If you go there in Plymouth to visit the village, the settlement, you find the rock with the date. So that apparently is the rock where the first pilgrim put their foot on, okay? So now we watch another video, again, active listening. This time is about Thanksgiving. Is like the Thanksgiving that derived from the first harvest celebration that took place in 1721, okay? Okay, now
Уяви, як ти відкриваєш двері нової квартири. Вмикається світло і... Привіт, нове життя!
Привіт, перевірена ціна.
Привіт, срочне планування!
Привіт, кухня, як у фільмах. Привіт,
okay, you watching? Yes?
Привіт!
Yes.
Ділися правдою про нерухомість на Домрія.
Okay.
We're all familiar with the story of the first Thanksgiving, when the Pilgrims invited local Native Americans to share a meal with them. But we bet you didn't know Thanksgiving didn't become an annual tradition until more than 200 years later. That first Thanksgiving in 1621 wasn't just one big meal. It was a 3-day festival of eating, hunting, and other entertainments in honor of the Pilgrims' first successful harvest. The Indians killed 5 deer as gifts for the colonists. So venison was definitely on the first Thanksgiving menu. But we bet you didn't know that turkey was not. They also didn't have pumpkin pie or potatoes, which hadn't been introduced to New England yet. And while they may have eaten cranberries, they would have been served plain, not in a sauce or relish. The Pilgrims didn't plan on starting a Thanksgiving tradition. In fact, they didn't repeat the November celebration in subsequent years. In 1789, President George Washington announced the first ever national Thanksgiving holiday, which took place on Thursday, November 26th. But it didn't become an annual tradition nationwide until the 19th century. That's when an American writer named Sarah Josepha Hale, most famous for writing the nursery rhyme Mary Had a Little Lamb, was inspired by a diary of pilgrim life to recreate that first Thanksgiving feast. Beginning in 1827, Hale waged a nearly 30-year campaign to make Thanksgiving a national holiday. She also published recipes for pumpkin pie, turkey, and stuffing that probably didn't appear on the Pilgrims' plates, but would become the staples of modern Thanksgiving meals. In 1863, in the midst of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln announced that the nation would celebrate Thanksgiving every year on the final Thursday in November. But did you know, in 1939, President Franklin D. Roosevelt decided to move the holiday up a week to give Depression-era retailers more time to make money during the pre-Christmas shopping season. The move was widely criticized, and in 1941, FDR signed a bill fixing Thanksgiving on the fourth Thursday in November, where it stays today. One of the quirkiest Thanksgiving traditions began in 1989, when President George H.W. Bush granted the first official pardon to a turkey. Every November since then, the current Oval Office occupant has given a reprieve to 1 or 2 turkeys, sending them into retirement on a farm rather than to a dinner table. Though it only began in the late 20th century, the story has become one of the more unusual chapters in the long history of Thanksgiving traditions.
Okay. Interesting, yes? All right, now a few questions,
In
okay?
January this
Oh,
year,
someone is
I did
talking.
ayahuasca.
You are watching what? I need to make up my mind what you're gonna watch. Okay. Yes? Plymouth Colony and the first Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, so we get back to here. So, what was probably like the first Thanksgiving?
On the 1621st.
Yes? It was a day celebration or what? What is it?
It was a 3-day celebration with
Yes.
games and a lot of food.
All right, yes. And then what?
Hunting and other things.
Yes, and so what, so the history wants that the tradition wants that the first pilgrim invited a Native American. But this is something that we probably, now we have a case to study today, and you have to do some research on that, probably to find out how it was actually in truth, how was it like? If we really have people from Native America join them or not, you know. Well, that's how the story. So that's what the image that American like institution want us to know about what happened. But probably it's not. Probably yes. Who knows, right? We don't know. But there are some other part of the. So it's just like the cover part of the moon, the other side of a coin. So what we're doing here is also to know like the official version, but also to try to ask yourself, was it really like that? How was the Native American like the tribe reacting to these invaders? Okay, they're arriving here with children, they build a home here. What's going to happen to our tribe, to our family? So there are a few things that, you know, just like open question that you should make to yourself, try to understand how was really like, especially if you visit that part of America, you have to notice that the coast, the coast is quite rough. Well, we've got some beaches, but it's down like in Virginia, South Carolina, that part. But the north is quite rough. And then you get like not much of land between the shore, and then there is wood. There was wood and rocks. So it was not really a fertile land, to put the seed to crop your plantation there. So it was kind of hard. So so it was like 3 day celebration. Okay, what was the contribution of Native American to the table? What did they do?
They killed 5 deer.
Yes, yes. So there was probably like venison, that is deer meat, and probably like corn, not cranberry like that now is a tradition to have a turkey. Not even turkey. Probably was not there. So, so who was Sarah Josepha Hale? She was a writer, right? Was she's famous?
She wrote the nursery rhyme, I believe.
Yes, a very famous ba ba na na na.
Mary had a little lamb.
Yeah, yeah, na na ni na ni na na, that one. But then what? She found like a memory book, okay, like a diary wrote by one of the pilgrims, and then from there she got inspiration to make that day a, a national celebration. However, who was the president that established the celebration? There were a few, right? But one established like it is today is after the Civil War, okay, it was Abraham Lincoln. He decided to have Thanksgiving Day and prize, that how it was called. Okay, so why do you think Thanksgiving is so important for USA just now? Okay. What kind of celebration is a family celebration? What do Americans do? What do you think?
Yeah, it is a family celebration. Basically, the family comes together to have dinner, and they eat a lot of food and talk.
Mm-hmm. So you get like if it's a family reunion.
Yes.
Okay. And so what do they have? What is like the typical recipe, the typical menu?
They have
Turkey,
turkey,
pumpkin,
Yes, pumpkin. Okay, that is
pumpkin pie,
pumpkin
Mashed potato.
pie. Yes, and cranberry
cranberry sauce.
that is you eat with because turkey on it's they usually cook. I cook once. People say if you are in America and you cook a Thanksgiving party and the turkey, you're gonna be American in your heart. And that's what they say, and it's true in a way. For instance, before when I studied back in Italy, then I moved to England for a while, and then when finally to the United States, I used to have a very British accent. Um, and then when I moved to America, when I cooked my first turkey, I tend to be more American-like, and it stays there. Although I wanted to change it because my both daughter lived in one in UK, in Scotland, and the other one is living in Ireland, and they don't have American accent over there. They have like Irish or Scottish accent, but still I have. I'm gonna keep my American accent all my life. So I tend to be a real American because I cook with the turkey. Apparently, if you see like American kitchen, they have a huge oven. And then the first time I said, oh, but they don't cook much. Then I found out that this oven, the huge one, is just made on purpose to cook the huge turkey. It is really big. So, so it's important. Why? Because it's just like Christmas for them. So the day before Thanksgiving Day, it is the busiest day in airport. So everyone, the whole family, they're like spread all over America, but just catch a flight and they get back home. Usually that weekend, because Thanksgiving Day is on Friday, right? So the people take, well, they travel on Wednesday, not now with the
It's
pandemic.
on Thursday, actually.
It's Thursday, yes,
Yeah.
Thursday. So they travel Wednesday, they spend a Thursday in the family, and then they have a Friday, which is called the Black Friday, that is the shopping day. And then Saturday, and then Sunday they get back home. Americans don't take much holiday. I know people in America, they work all their life and they take a week off throughout the whole year. So these people, they tend to concentrate their holiday, their holiday on Thanksgiving Day and then on Christmas. But it's more on Thanksgiving Day because, for instance, they're getting back to their family home where they've been brought up, where they went to high school, and they take the chance not only to reunite with their family, but also to have like high school reunion, to meet their old friends. So it is really it is a celebration to eat and to praise and to thank for the abundance that they were given by this huge and beautiful land that is United States, but also to make bonds with family and friends. So so then the last thing they were saying, okay, so the Thanksgiving Day has been moved, but now remember it is celebrated on the 4th Thursday of November. Why the 4th? I don't know. I've been moving in the 3rd, in the last, but now is in the 4th because it's not. Sometimes it's not the last Thursday. It could be like it's the 4th, and then there is another Thursday within the calendar of the month of November. So that has been established like that. It's not the last, but the 4th Thursday. Then we have Thanksgiving Day, then we have a Black Friday, that's the day after, and then what is that actually when a Christmas holiday starts, and then you get all the big department stores, you get Santa, you get everything out for Christmas. You know, Americans are very crazy, so you can buy a Christmas decoration in August. So we're very crazy about Christmas decoration. So they start after Thanksgiving Day. As soon as Thanksgiving Day is over, they put out all the Christmas decorations. Now, recently, they had this pardon Thanksgiving Day. And who decided, what is it? And who decided to celebrate it? And why? What is this pardon Thanksgiving? You remember the turkey? Yeah. It happened what? That the president, I think it was George Bush, decided to pardon one turkey, or few, not kill it. This is what to meet also the idea of a world that is moving toward more vegan, is moving toward like protection, not eat meat, protection of a species, and then it was.
I feel like he pardoned the turkey because it was what brought people together. So in order to thank the turkey for bringing people together, he pardoned it.
Yes. So he's saying, okay, we're not gonna kill that turkey, and so they're giving they put these turkeys in a retirement place and live happily after. Yeah, I think they decided to have it because of a vegan so. You can have a Thanksgiving, so you can have a Thanksgiving day also not eating meat. So it's kind of like stopping this onslaught of turkey, and give a possibility also to celebrate, so people from some, you know, medical problem or anything can have meat, or you decided not to have meat because you're vegan, so you still have to celebrate Thanksgiving Day. I think it was a move to embrace more people in Thanksgiving Day and remove a bit from tradition, be the must to have the turkey on the table. So that is my opinion. Okay, now, do you see what? The first New York City Thanksgiving Day parade? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So this happened, it started in 1924 in New York City. And this is like an inflated balloon parade that start up on, actually they set up these huge inflated balloons, and then they got like all bands, marching bands, and then at the end you have Santa on a sleigh with the reindeers. They set up all that, this huge organization in Central Park. And then they start to go down on Central Park West. They go down Columbus Circus, and then they go down, I think, 9th Avenue. And then they reach Broadway and the 9th, I think, where Macy's is a huge department store, and they decided to organize this huge parade to inaugurate, to start the Christmas shopping season. And it's something that is this to see. It is good fun. So people just gather along the route of the parade, and you know, you go there with your chairs as you covered up because it's usually so cold, and you watch all that. It's really amazing. So this is the first New York City Thanksgiving Day parade, and is organized by a shop department, a huge one that is called Macy's. Okay. Now, all right. If you want, here you have a video. You can find anything online, just if you wanted to have a look at that. We will not. Okay. Here you get the turkey, and here you have cranberry. For instance, since America is a melting pot of different races, nationalities, and so on, when I was in America, I remember being invited to Italian American Thanksgiving. That is amazing. I mean, the quantity, because what the Italian Americans, what they do for the party, they do like everything as if it was like Christmas, Italian Christmas, say, with like lasagna, meat, roast beef, and potato, and so. And then they kind of like they merge two menus, so you get like lasagna because you have to be there, and then also the turkey and everything, and then you have like all different cakes, and so that happened like every community has included Thanksgiving Day in their own tradition, and since it's not a religious celebration, it actually is the American celebration, because it hasn't got like a name, a label on it, okay, like a religious, but is the people living in America who appreciate and thanks God, thanks the earth, thanks America for the money, for everything, that for the job, for the house they have, everything they received from this really generous country. Okay, now case study assignment. Okay, this is something new. I will not do it now, or you can, if you want, you can. I don't know. How do you feel tired? Are you tired? No, you're young.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. So what I was thinking is to see how, like Thanksgiving Day, all that we covered so far, from the side of Native American inhabitants of the territory. Okay. So this is, I put on Moodle the same instruction as in here. And I think you can work on it if it's something that you like, of course. And it will be a good way to open up a forum. So next Wednesday, when we start our Zoom meeting, we can talk about that. So what you have to do is to do some search, write down information, and be ready to expose this small presentation to everyone. Okay, so if you find information, then you expose them, and then we can also talk about that. We can also compare what you found, what the other found, and just start to have a forum. Yeah. So what is interesting is also just to connect what was in the past and what, if these Native American are still there, and what they're doing now. Where do they live? What are their main occupation? How they've been treated? Because we tend to underline, Black African American situation and segregation, apartheid, and all the problem. That's fine, but African American are not the only minority which suffer from some injustice. Okay, so I think this is interesting from the social point of view. And so it's also good to enrich your knowledge of America. Okay. So now I would suggest, now I leave you with that. We usually take a 15 minutes break. Okay. I will do it now because we shift to road to the independence, which is the American Revolution. What they call Independence War, American Revolution War. So, and this is like we're getting back to some real history facts, and you need to be like fresh. So I will give you 15 minutes. Is that okay? A break? Yeah. And then we'll finish with that. Again here, unfortunately, today we were not doing any class activity. We will be like active listening, some more videos, but that's about it. Okay. All right. I want to stop sharing. Okay. All right. I mute myself. 15 minutes.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can I ask a question to the
Yes.
students in
Yes.
Russian?
Yes.
In Russian, can I? Okay, thank you. Ребят, кто
In
на моем
Russian.
компьютере? Yes.
Hope so. Yes. Let's see. I think you better in English. I am better in English.
Okay. I just wanted to ask. I'm studying management. My major is management, and I haven't been added to the Business English 1 course. So I was gonna ask if anyone has a Zoom link to like, because I have it next.
Oh, all right. Oh, so you are asking to the rest of the students that are connected
Yes.
now. That is like a public question, so you want to know. But I usually, I don't know what Alina, I think her name is, like English composition, the teacher.
Business English 1.
1 или 2?
1.
А тут уже, наверное, все на 2. Уже во втором, типа, все бизнес English.
В смысле?
У нас уже закончился первый в прошлом семестре.
Да.
Нет, у меня типа первый семестр, я только сейчас поступила.
Но у нас уже бизнес English деленный на 2 части, то есть
Да, первый.
В прошлом семестре, у нас сейчас уже 2.
Понятно.
Напиши лучше или позвони даже лучше в деканат.
Хорошо.
Right. Yes. You. There is a. Well, for instance, what I do every Zoom meeting that I made, I put the link onto like a general. If you go into my course and you get like on top, you get my picture with a Christmas tree.
Yes.
Yeah, you get the link. I usually use anyway the Zoom ID and the password is still the same because I use the same one for your course.
Yes, but I'm not added to the course yet, so.
Okay. So maybe I received yesterday an email from Dean office about you.
Yeah, I'm gonna call the Dean office then.
Yes. Yeah. Right. I don't know if
Thank you.
anyone is gonna be there anyway. I don't know. Well, I think that some, I don't know, Nastinka.
Oh yeah, I also wanted to ask something. How many courses do you guys have running right now? In progress, I mean. Only one, right? Or probably have more subjects.
So Evgeny is talking to everyone else, not to me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. You wanted to
No, not to
yeah,
you.
right. Yes, to the
My
students.
fellow students.
Okay. Yeah.
So guys, someone.
We have 5 courses.
It's like totally it's about 6 something like that, but they start in April.
Okay, so now we have only one active course, right? I mean,
why 1 active?
5.
There are 5 active.
okay.
No, it's like 4.
I can
But
name.
you don't have classes, right? On
We have like 5 courses.
Like business English 2, English composition 2, it's mathematics for economics, and it's principles of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And
it's number 5, yeah. And
okay.
we will have one more course in April, and if someone is retaking course, for example, computer science, it will be also in April.
Oh, I see now. Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Good morning, miss. How are you?
Hello.
Yeah, I saw that in Moodle that we have a presentation about American. 1 second, please. Let me check it.
Yes.
Yeah, the American
it's the
habit.
forum that I made.
Yeah, when we have to present it.
Next Wednesday. It's gonna be like you just tell to the class, to the rest of the student, and to me, what are your the results of your internet search, okay? What you found out, and how like these people, these tribes were like, what kind of habits they had, and so on, and what are they doing now, if they still exist, like a community, what problem they went through, like according to like education, of social integration with the rest of America. There's so many, there is so much, there is a huge chapter of American history regarding that. If you have problem, you can also on Moodle, on Unit 4, you get Harvest Ceremony. It is quite an extensive reading, well, maybe 4 or 5 pages, and it tells everything about this local Native American population, tribes. Their name was Wampanoag, the one that presumably joined the first pilgrim in their Thanksgiving Day, in their celebration of harvest, okay? And it's quite interesting to learn how they were organized in the village, if they had like a head of a village, what they were doing. They were hunters, and how like women were considered. Many little things are quite interesting. And then it's interesting also to know what these people are doing now, okay? So I just wanted to, just to you to be curious about America, and to know more about that and find out, okay? So next time, the first 15-20 minutes, we will talk about that, okay? All right. If you are short of information, you can always read this the document that I put online on Moodle, that is called Harvest Ceremony. That I've got here. Okay. Now,
Sorry, I have a question about.
yes.
So, is it like? No, I'll answer again. Is it? God, sorry, what's wrong with me?
Rewind.
I forgot how to say this word.
Well,
is it
so first of all, get back. It happens to me as well. So what?
I remember now. Is it obligatory to tell about those who lived on the territory of a modern U.S., or I can tell also about those who lived in the territory of modern Canada, for example, Micmacs, something like that?
Well, it will be since we were focused on Thanksgiving Day and in the area of Massachusetts. It will be interesting to limit, like to concentrate on Native American living in that particular territories. But you can add some other if you like. Yes. What is like a? I would like you to make your own contribution to the course with your information, a bit what I do when I prepare my lecture, and I do search, okay? And from one thing I said, oh, right, right, I need to know more about that. And then I click and I do search on Google, and then read the document. Oh, yes, oh, that's really, all these kind of things that you probably do it hundreds of times during the day. So maybe find it out, like for instance, when I watch a video, or when I watch a film, and then I said, oh, who is that actor? How his name? Yeah, then I check what other film he was in, all this kind of thing. Like, just I want you to be curious about the history of America, especially because we are now talking about these minority community, this community of small people, and who were they had probably problem to keep their own tradition. That's what I'm guessing. Okay, maybe not, maybe yes. And how now, like the government, American government, is coping with this problem of, because it is a problem of small community like that. Basically, they own the country before before colonists arrived. So, and from their point of view, they've been deprived of the right to live in their territory. So there is a lot. There is a lot to find out. So it's kind of like it's going to be a forum. Everyone's going to say something, and that's it. It's not because there's no one judges if whatever what the arguments of the topics you bring about is good or not good. It's still an enrichment for everyone. Okay. Yes. So now we go. So everyone knows what is the Tea Party. So that's how it started, right? So we're getting back to our history, okay? So so it passed maybe 100 years or so from the first colonies. And then you can imagine that since the first colonies arrived, many other, right? And many other people arrived, not only from England, from Holland, but French, everywhere in Spain, from everywhere in Europe. And they decided to settle down there. So the colonies grew wealthier and wealthier. That's because the country, America, was really rich, and they start to do some business and trades with Europe. Okay, so the colonists also wanted to expand, so they feel like the land they are occupying at that time, it was small. So since more people arriving, they wanted to expand westward and enlarge the colonies. In the meantime, I want to show you a picture of how was a map. No, where is the map? Okay, right. This is what was like. So here you get like a New England colonies. Okay, here on in the yellow part you got France. So France, they expand a lot, and they're menacing the colonies here, because they were, while the colony want to expand over there, then they found the French. And up here you get like that's why part of Canada, Quebec, they speak French, because they were French colonists at the time. But not only in Canada, but also all this part of United States. So, so what happened is that since British were engaged with the French and Indian War, so by British, what they did, they started putting a lot of taxes on colonists, because they're saying, look, we come here, we bring a lot of soldiers, we are fighting a war to protect your interests, and now you have to pay me back. British, they were in debt at the time. So they start to put tax on. One famous one was the Stamp Act, that it was a tax on everything that was stamped. So newspaper, legal document, it was a lot, because there was a lot of paper going around in the colonies. Colonists were very unhappy. They start to be wealthier. They open up their own university. They have school. They have education. They started to feel like they could stand on their feet. And all these taxes that the British government were putting on them were very, very tight. So there was a secret organization of people who wanted to organize and fight British away, okay, away from the colonies. We were called the Sons of Liberty. So remember that. So it's like it was a secret organization to protest against the Stamp Act or any other taxation that British Parliament decided to impose to them. And sometimes these organizations could have like very violent protest. One of the leaders, it was Samuel Adams. He was graduated from Harvard College. Harvard College is not far from Boston. Well, I've got I know a few people that attended there, and I went there myself to visit, and it's really amazing. So, this Samuel Adams was kind of a leader of Sons of Liberty. And he was the mastermind of a revolution. So he wanted to free American people. He wanted to make them aware of their own power so they could stand on their own feet. And then basically that was like the motto of the protest, and they say no taxation without representation, because American colonies were saying, I am paying taxes and we are not represented legally in the Parliament of England. So we wanted to have a representation. On March the 4th, 1770, it happened Boston Massacre. It was not really a massacre because luckily only 5 colonists died and 6 got wounded. But somehow it was a street brawl that happened in Boston between American colonists and British soldiers. These are these are not really like luckily very bloody confrontation that took place, but it was a sign that already American colonists were ready to fight. And like the tension that it was between England and American. So it happened that it is Boston Massacre. It was that how it was told to the people. These were the sentinels. They were guarding the custom house. That it was the custom house was like an institution building, okay, in Boston. And these were the colonists, okay, and they're like attacking the sentinel, but just not with arms or weapons or rifles, but just throwing snowballs to them. But the sentinel react really badly, and they start shooting back to these colonists, and 5 got killed. So this was one of the first like bloody confrontation that happened. It happened before Boston Tea Party. So it's kind of like, like when a coffee is brewing, it was just like there was a lot of tension. And then we get like here the video, what happened on December 16th, 1773, American colonists disguised as Mohawk, like this Indian, native tribe dumped. So they threw in the water 342 chests of tea belonging to the British East India Company. Now I wanted to show you a video. Okay, so do I have a Katerina that was with me?
Yes.
Yes, so you are not watching the video yet.
Back in England, the colonial rebellion becomes
Let's
a
see
national
now.
preoccupation.
Yes.
Over
The
the next
video,
3
yeah.
years,
Yes.
Parliament keeps trying to
Yes,
impose
yes.
its authority.
Okay, I put it
laws
back.
and
One
new-
moment, and then I put big screen. Yeah?
Back in England, the colonial rebellion becomes a national preoccupation. Over the next 3 years, Parliament keeps trying to impose its authority with new laws and new taxes. As each new law inflames the rebellion, it ends up getting repealed. Except for one, a tax on tea.
The principle involved is that Parliament is sovereign. It can pass laws on whatever it wants. So we're going to just keep this one in place just because to assert the fact that we can do this.
The Tea Act puts only a 3-penny tax per pound on the drink of choice for most Americans. It's hardly a burden, but in the current climate, a 3-penny tax still equals oppression. It's all that militant patriots need to strike another blow against the empire. Feathers and coal dust are their weapons. On December 16th, 1773, the Sons of Liberty enlist 50 men to darken their faces, stick feathers in their hair, and arm themselves with hatchets in a bad impersonation of Mohawk Indians. 5,000 people follow them down to Boston Harbor and watch as they climb aboard a merchant ship loaded with tea from England. With British soldiers absent since the Boston Massacre, there is no one to stop them. 342 crates of tea worth 10,000 British pounds are cast overboard. This wanton act of sabotage, which becomes known as the Boston Tea Party, will soon push the two sides to the brink of war.
The British reaction was disgust and outrage. From a British point of view, you had an entire colony running amok. And the British government, after the Tea Act, frankly said, we've had enough. We've had enough with Massachusetts. We're going to clamp down on them. And we're going to make Massachusetts an example of what happens if you defy the authority of Parliament.
At that very same time, the British discover yet another outrage committed by an American, someone they thought they could trust, Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, okay. All right, it just stopped. Okay. So we know now what happened in the Boston Tea Party, okay? So Americans were fed up of receiving continuous taxes, and especially on tea. Why on tea? So you are watching Boston Tea Party, yes, Catherine?
Yes.
Okay, right. So why do you think on tea?
Well, because as much as it wasn't a big tax, it was like an offense to them, like the government was oppressing them.
Yes, but also because there was, is always been back in history.
Yeah, it was the most popular drink.
Yes, or not only because it was a very popular drinking and everyone was drinking tea, it was a sign of imposition, and also because East Indian Company imposed colonies to buy their tea only. So they were imposed to a monopoly. You're studying economy, so you know what a monopoly. Yes, yeah. So I cannot go and buy tea from the Dutch. Okay, from some other sources, I have to buy it from an East Indian company and pay whatever they want to. Okay, so there was no a free market. Since Americans started to be quite powerful and their consumption of tea was a lot, so Britain decided, okay, so you only buy tea from us. And so they were not happy about that. Okay, now, after the Tea Party, England wanted to enforce their oppression instead of leaving, because they felt that the colonies, they wanted to separate. So they were losing a lot of territory, okay, to give independence to these colonists. So King George III and the Parliament, they decided to put in place a more coercive or intolerable act. More and more taxes. There were taxes on sugar, on tea, on stamp. Let's see, I said all of them. Coercive tax, yes, yeah. And right, but not only they were with intolerable act, were also limiting the free will of colonists. So like the colonists were they cannot like move around freely in the colonies. And also they were Britain decided to give more freedom to worship. So you have to think that colonists were the Puritans, okay? They were the songs of the first pilgrim, the Puritans. So they were very, very attached to their religious beliefs. While Britain decided, okay, well, let's give it like more freedom in worship, and then everything they were Britain were doing were annoying more and more the American colonists. Okay, extended freedom to worship, which angered the Protestant colonists. Okay, so that was. So, intolerable act, the consequences. So, all colonists view these punitive laws as further evidence of Britain's tyranny. So, in the meantime, since the other colonists saw that Massachusetts was the colony were more attacked by the British, they were sending aid, help, like troops, soldiers. Okay, so that's kind of like at this point in this time of his intolerable act, so the war was at the brink. So all colonies united against a common enemy, Britain. Okay, in fact, after the first Boston Tea Party, there had one other Boston Tea Party that took place later on in March, where 60 Bostonian boarded the ship Fortune and dumped early 30 chests, not as many as before, of tea into the harbor. So then we have some other Boston Tea Party and tea dumping demonstration in Maryland, New York, and South Carolina. So like this, the voice was spreading. Okay. So question and discussion. What kind of society was the Songs of Liberty?
They were the opposition, basically.
Yes, they were like a secret society, okay?
Yes.
Because we were illegal, okay? It kind of like now we will call them terrorists, because we're actually they were organizing also with weapons, right, with rifles, were organizing a rebellion. Okay, they called the Sons of Liberty. What was the name of the King of England at the time?
George III.
George the Third. Okay, yes. And so, what do you think were the reason for the American Revolution? Economic, yes.
British tyranny.
Yes, yes. And then the taxation without representation. Yes. They wanted to be more independent, right? Okay. Now here we have a picture. This is George Washington. George Washington, in the meantime, they were, because you have to, I show you the picture before, right? Oh, here. So what happened when they start the confrontation, they were British Army and American Army fighting a little bit all over these colonies. At a certain point, like the heads of the most important people of the colonies, they gathered together in a congress, the first Continental Congress, and they nominate the leader to be the commander-in-chief of the whole army. So they wanted to get themselves organized, because what happened is that the army from England were organized soldiers, okay, troops, while colonies didn't have an army, so they have to get their army organized. So they nominated George Washington to be the commander-in-chief. And here we have a picture of him in the Delaware. Delaware River is not far from Washington, D.C. Okay. Okay, so I don't know why it happened that I have it so big. Let me have a look. No. Why did I get it so enlarged? I touched something and I don't know how to put it back. Okay. I should be able to remove that. I wanted to have full screen. Look. Yes, better. Okay. So American Revolutionary War dates. So it began in 19 of April 1775 with the Battle of Lexington and Concord, which are north of Boston. I think in Unit 6, we will read Paul Revere's poem, which is a poem telling what really happened the day, the night before this Battle of Lexington and Concord. While this ordinary person, he was iron master. He rode his horse along the coast of Massachusetts Bay to alert the people that the British soldiers were coming from the sea. So two big vessels, two big ships full of British soldiers were landing in that night. So he was so brave, and he alerted the whole population to be ready for the confrontation, for the fight. So that is how beginning. So it began in Massachusetts. So basically, one of the place that if you want to know more about this part of the fundamental events of American history, you should go to Boston. So Massachusetts and all that area is everything happened there. Like we see, like the Mayflower, and then you get a little bit north, you get Lexington and Concord. Then we had the Salem witch trial that again is in Massachusetts. So the area of Massachusetts, New York, also Pennsylvania is. Are the states that you should visit one day if you wanted to know more about the history of America. So these in these territories there are so many museums telling the story of the birth of United States of America. And there are many school field trips and parents taking their kids over there from all over America just to know and have a look where your roots are. Okay, so just to make them aware of, although it's only 200, well, in comparison with European, of course, American history is very short, but it's full of events which are very, very significant for each American citizen. So then he end about it lasts almost 8 years. And they finish with the sign of a Treaty of Paris between American and British. And it was Benjamin Franklin was a main actor of that. Then finally to get to peace. Okay. All right, now we get back here, we get the idea how it was like. So we get Massachusetts here, Boston, up here you get Lexington and Concord, okay? Then some other battles took place here in Long Island, here, and then down here also in Virginia and Delaware, here in Delaware. There were many battles in 8 years. So main events. So Lexington and Concord, we have the colonial militia, had many casualties, but then militia struck back. So Lexington and Concord, British won, okay? But then they struck back and they confined British to Boston. So because Lexington and Concord were north of Boston. So the colonial militia confined the British redcoats down to Boston. Then another main event is the Second Congress in Philadelphia. That was when, on May 10, 1775, it was voted to go to war and appointed Colonel George Washington as commander-in-chief of American forces. In a way, British were trying to confine the fight, the war, to the northern part of America. And they because they wanted to keep the southern colonies loyal to them. So they were saying to the southern colonies, they say, look, you stay with me and I will protect you in case you might have some rebellion among the slaves. Okay. So, but then, since British were short of men, they changed their mind. Okay, they offered freedom to slaves if they would have joined the British Army. So in this way, instead of having the loyalty of southern colonies, they triggered the protest of southern colonies. So they have everyone against. From the point of view of intelligentsia, like the the movement and the revolution was backed up by a pamphlet. Pamphlet is like a short, is a short book. It's a small book by John Payne, who wrote Common Sense. And here in this Common Sense, it was an open attack to the monarchy, and he was inflated the desire to separate in the American people. So he was like stirring the conscience of American, that it was the right time, the right moment to fight against the British. Well, that is something that is quite remarkable. The thing is that when it happened a revolution like that, you always have among the colonies, in our case, people that wanted freedom, okay? More revolutionary minds, and other people who were happy with what were receiving from Britain. And they said, okay, we have a decent life, we have our home, we have a British soldier, we protect our security, for safetyness reason. And many people were just not paying attention, but didn't want to get involved. So we had this Thomas Paine, who wanted to stir the heart, the soul of American, and to start and join the revolution. So then we have a committee of 5 after 2 years on May 1776, a committee of 5 headed by Thomas Jefferson of Virginia. This is really important because during the revolution, we were already like a mastermind of the Declaration of Independence, working on the draft of a document, which then was presented to the monarchy, to the King George III. So more battles. So we get the Battle of Long Island, where the militia headed by George Washington lost. And in fact, Manhattan and New York remained in British hands for a long time. That was one of the last to be free. Then the battle moved down to New Jersey, the south, with some American victories at Trenton and Princeton. Princeton is the place where we have a famous university. While in the meantime, we have Benjamin Franklin went to France, and then where he received French military support in the war. You see how Benjamin Franklin was a diplomat, and he was good to attract some support from France, and then finally he was the key actor of the Treaty of Paris, which signed the end of the war. So then there was the British who were defeated in Saratoga, that is New York, northern New York, and they moved south because they wanted to have support from the southern loyalists, so people who didn't want the revolution but were loyalists to the crown. Okay. So here, if you want to have, I put like a timeline thing that you get all these events more like organized. And then here we have a painting of the time, the Battle of Yorktown, that is signed at the end of a war, where Cornwallis, who was the general, the British general, surrendered his army of 8,000 British soldiers. Okay, so there is a lot of information. This is something that, of course, if you want to know more, there are more things to know, but this is important for you to know. Well, that's what I believe is that in order to know what is America now, it's important to know these main events of American Revolution. I have a video to show. That is a trailer of a movie starring Mel Gibson. The movie is called The Patriot. Is long, three hours long. It has some discrepancies with the real history. So the way Mel Gibson, he was also the art director of it. He kind of like, yeah, it is interesting, like to breathe like the spirit of the fight of the revolution, to understand how they were in contrast, the colonists and the British officers and all that. But it's not really, it cannot be said as it is a real history film, because there are something that has, some events were not any records of that. But it's still interesting, and I wanted to show you, if I'm lucky. Okay, Ekaterina is with me.
Yes.
Okay, so now sharing, let's see. Do you like Mel Gibson?
Could you repeat, please?
Do you like Mel Gibson? Who is?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, he's fun, right? Well, at the time he was very young, but this is quite bloody. It's very, very like cruel. But I wouldn't watch it for 3 hours. But it is an epic adventure of American Revolution. Okay. No, he was not the art director. He was director of Roland Emmerich, the same one as Independent Day. So let's see why is getting to this watch. Why I cannot. The Patriot. Watch trailer. Let's see. Are you watching it?
I have long feared.
Yes?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
My sins would return to visit me. And the cost is more than I can bear. He wanted to forget.
I've been to war, and I have no desire to do so again. I have 7 children.
I do not wish to leave them fatherless. A family threatened by war. We have to do something.
I forbid you to go. My child, you're my child.
A son fighting for his beliefs. Father, you're a man of principle. When you have a family of your own, perhaps you'll understand. When I have a family of my own, I won't hide behind this.
Hang him, put his body on display.
Colonel, I beg you, by the rules of war.
Would you like a lesson, sir, in the rules of war?
Or perhaps your children will. Before this war is over, I'm going to kill you. Why wait? I'll come back.
Might I request, sir, that you transfer my son here under my command?
I'll fire first. Start with the officers. I don't know where they're going to strike. Where'd you learn all that riding, shooting? My father taught me. How many were there? Maybe one man. Sounds more like a ghost than a man.
This ghost, bring him to me.
How many men does Cornwallis have under his command?
12,000 redcoats. I'm here to enlist every man willing. Who's with us?
This is not the conduct of a gentleman. I'll take that as a compliment.
Okay. Stop sharing. All right. I think we got to the end. Okay, yes. I think we got to the end. It was a long run today. I know. But it's very interesting. What I want to spend few more, well, first of all, if you have any questions. So I want to spend few words now regarding just like, so, okay, like the forum, okay? So be ready just to expose to the class the results of your search. It will be interesting and will be a moment to enrich of knowledge about the past of these inhabitants. Then you have, here is unit 4 quiz, right? Okay, so we've covered together a lot. You just have to fix your mind with few informations. So the questions are organized. That is going to be probably the first time that you have a multiple choice on Moodle. I don't know. It's a question. Is that your first time you're going to be? Have you done any multiple questions before on Moodles?
Yes.
Yes, on Moodles, multiple choice. Yeah. Okay. So the way I organize, like for instance, there is a question. Okay. So where and when, I'll give you just one. Okay. Did take place the Tea Party? Okay. So here you have three options. One says it occurred in December 16, 1773 in New York. Okay, then that is answer one. Then you have it occurred on December 16th, 1773 in Boston. Okay, so then you have it occurred in January 12th, 1670 in Boston. Okay, so you have to decide which one is correct. So usually one is wrong. Okay, in this case it says in New York. We've never have we ever mentioned anything in New York regarding the Tea Party or anything? No, right? Nothing in New York. Well, it happened later on. We have some like a tea dumping like protest also in New York and in Virginia, South Carolina, but this is not the Tea Party, the one that we mean. So it's the Boston Tea Party. So we know for sure that it's in Boston. So now we have to decide the date. So two answers says December 16 and one says January the 12th. And then you have say, all right, so the correct one is December 16, 1773. Okay, now, another question. How many people did die in the Boston Massacre? So, you remember that I said that it was a symbolic thing and not too many people died. So you are looking in a small number, okay? So here we have 10 men were killed in the accident known as the Boston Massacre. Then we have 5 men were killed in the accident known as the Boston Massacre. Then we have 12 men and 2 women were killed in the accident known as Women Massacre. So the last one mentioned that like men and women, but don't remember any woman mentioned by my teacher. Okay, so that is wrong. So, so one is completely wrong. One is still wrong, but it is possible that is correct. So the correct one is 5 men were killed. Okay. All right. So, so for instance, who were the Sons of Liberty? Okay. So you have to look also for sometimes an extra word that is in the correct answer. For instance, in this case, the correct one is the Songs of Liberty was a secret. So the key word is secret. Organization that was created in the 13 American colonies to advance the right of European colonists to fight the taxation by the British government. Okay. So now another one, who was reigning in England at the time of the first Tea Party? So you get King George I. He was not. He was at the time of Mayflower. William IV. Well, no, I don't know. I never heard about him. And then you get King George III. So the correct one is that, King George III. Again, Thanksgiving Day, okay? Who was the president who established like a national holiday, the celebration of Thanksgiving Day? He was Abraham Lincoln, who proclaimed the National Day of Thanksgiving Day and Prize. And it happened after the Civil War was about to finish, and since the Civil War tore apart the colonies from the states from the north and from the south, Abraham Lincoln felt it was a sign of unity to proclaim a national holiday, something that will include all the states of America. Okay. All right. Now, for instance, Thanksgiving parade. Okay, where did it took place? The first one. So you remember was mentioned you about Central Park West and then Broadway and so and so and so. So it will be where? Not in Boston, not in Washington, but in where is Central Park? In New York. Yes, yes. Now, when is now celebrated Thanksgiving Day? So Thanksgiving Day, remember, is celebrated the 4th Thursday of November. That's how it is established. Usually it coincides with the last Thursday, but not necessarily. Okay. So the rule says the 4th. So the correct answer is the 4th. Okay, guys, if you don't have any question, I'm done. Next Wednesday we will do more literature, just to compensate. So next Wednesday we dedicate part of a class to the forum about Native American tribes. Okay, and then we will do some literature, a novel. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Take care. Be careful
Thank you so much. Bye.
About the quiz. Just do it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for your help.
Have a nice day. Bye.